It's Eric Macramalla, though, Team 1260 Sports legal analyst. He joins us on the show this morning. Eric, good morning. How are you?
I am good. I have been doing your job all week here. By the way, there's an echo here. Hosting the morning show here during the week. And I don't know how you guys stay awake.
You're not used to that, are you?
You finally have respect for us, you lawyer, you.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but, I wake up at 4:45, and it's early when the homeless won't accept money because they're asleep.
Eric Mac, we are going to Costanza this one, and we're just going to sign off with you right now because you can't get any better than that one that you just dropped. So we're just going to say...
I am fantastic. Yeah. I will talk to you guys next week, and you guys are incredibly good looking.
Eric, I found an interesting tweet that you tossed out there yesterday. When we hear the news about Marc Savard, when you kind of suggested, is there any way Marc Savard could take legal action against Matt Cook? And I kind of thought, well, is this guy out of his mind? But, is there?
It's such an interesting question and got a lot of attention here as well. The bottom line is this, is that, you can take legal action against someone for something that happens on the ice if that contact is not incidental to the game, if it falls outside the acceptable parameters of what is considered a hockey hit, for example. So the best example, the most extreme example, is Bertuzzi on Moore. That was clearly a headhunting situation. So for your listeners who always want to figure out, okay, something happens on the ice, is it a crime? Or is it not a crime? Your starting point should be, is it headhunting? Am I trying to separate the player not from the puck, but from the rest of his life? And the thing about the Matt Cook hit is while it was a vicious hit, and it still turns my stomach, it wasn't against the rules in hockey. And that's kind of why this falls in a gray area. It wasn't an obvious violation of the rules at the time that have since been amended. So I think Savard would have difficulty in a lawsuit against Matt Cook. The bigger question, guys, the bigger question to ask is, did the NHL create a safe environment for Marc Savard and other players? Did they take sufficient action to ensure that players don't end up like Marc Savard, where not only are their careers over, but the quality of their lives are profoundly compromised?
That leads into, can Marc Savard sue the NHL?
That would be the next logical question, yes. And that's what I'm saying, is you would look at, has the NHL created a safe environment for the players, and have they taken reasonable action to ensure the safety of their players? That's a very difficult question to ask. And again, it falls somewhere along a gray area.
Team 1260 Sports legal analyst Eric Macramalla with us here on the show. Two different concussion lawsuits in the National Football League. Tell us how they are different.
First thing, guys, I have an echo on my end. I hope you don't have it on your end.
No, we're good here.
Okay, maybe it's not an echo. It's just the extra voices in my head. There are two separate lawsuits going on, and they are as dizzying, I think, to fans as the concussions themselves. Here's the bottom line. The core claims for both of the lawsuits are the same, that the NFL knew of the dangers of concussions, and number two, intentionally hid those dangers from players, and the relationship between concussions and cognitive degeneration over time. Here's the difference. The first lawsuit was started by 75 retired players, and that was in California.
Yep.
The most recent one, being led by Jim McMahon, only has 6 plaintiffs. But here's the difference. That second one with Jim McMahon is a class action lawsuit. The first one is not a class action lawsuit. And what that means, and this is potentially catastrophic for the NFL, is that if that class of 6 players can go to the court and say, can you certify my class? And what that means is, look, we have the claims in common. It's impractical for us to separate ourselves and sue them separately. Can we be a class? If the court says yes, then in theory, thousands of retired NFL players can join that lawsuit. NFL players that have suffered neurological injury. And then what that means is that potentially the NFL could be looking at hundreds of millions of dollars in damages. And on top of that, if the players win, then the spouses of the players and the children of the players could also sue and say, my dad's injury, his state, has adversely impacted my quality of life. I want money too.
How would something like that, say, move from the NFL over to the NHL? Could you use that as like a precedent?
It's such an interesting question because we are right now at a watershed moment. And for me, a watershed moment is when a number of events converge together. We have 2 NFL lawsuits. We have 3 pugilists or 3 enforcers that have passed away in 4 months, which may or may not be related to headshots and concussions. Absolutely, that if this NFL lawsuit, and hopefully, it may well settle because the NFL may not want this to go forward. You can imagine this is a bit of a nightmare for them. But yes, players could rely on that in an NHL lawsuit, but don't forget we are dealing with 2 entirely different sports. But yes, you can rely on this because you could say that these players are kind of like us.
What's the latest on Barry Bonds?
Barry Bonds lost his appeal. He was found guilty on obstruction of justice. He appealed that, and the court said, you know what? No, you were misleading. You were evasive, and we're going to uphold that one. So now the next thing is Barry Bonds' lawyers can appeal that, and I think they will appeal. If they don't appeal, the next thing is a sentence, which will be home confinement at the very worst.
So he's not going to see any jail time at all?
Wow.
I would be shocked, guys, because other people in similar situations have had like 6 months of home confinement. He didn't do anything dangerous here. Mm-hmm. He has no priors. So I would be very surprised to see him go for jail strictly for obstruction of justice. Had he been nailed on perjury, like Marion Jones was, I could see him go to jail.
Well, and Nielsen says Madden 12's out, so he'll have something to do while he's at home.
That's right. He can actually play video games while he's stuck at home like I do. Speaking of Madden, and I guess this, the 2012 season, HGH testing, and I guess we can tie it into Barry Bonds in a roundabout way if we want, but HGH testing this season in the NFL, yes? No? How's that work?
I think it is highly unlikely. What happened is the NFL jumped the gun when they announced after the collective bargaining agreement was signed or ratified, or whatever word you want to use to sound fancy, and they said that we're going to do HGH testing and it'll be the day of the game, right? Because HGH stays in your blood for about 36 to 48 hours and that's it, and then it's gone. The problem is the NFLPA never agreed to that, and they've asked to see some studies. There's this, this international organization that's pretty well known for this stuff, WADA, but the NFLPA is not satisfied with what that organization has provided as far as testing procedures because they would conduct these tests, and WADA has been criticized for not being transparent. So the bottom line is this. If the sides can't agree, we go back to what it was in 2010. And in 2010, there was no blood testing. And without blood testing, you don't have HGH testing. So my feeling here is, unless something dramatic happens, I don't see HGH testing this season.
All right. We'll check in with you next Thursday, man.
Okay, guys, the 2 voices in my head. Thank you.
Just another regular day with Eric Macramalla. Thanks a lot, man. That is Eric Macramalla, Team 1260 sports legal analyst. He's